G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. This afternoon's episode is brought to you by our partners, Neds. Make sure you go and check out the Neds app where you can go and follow my Guru profile. You can also follow the Rugby League Guru group there, the About Even group, all of our bets and everything across the weekend. Not sure why you'd want them because I'm going like an absolute busted at the moment, but I'm hoping to turn the ship around at some point in the near or distant future. But head over to the Neds app. We're gambling responsibly as always and follow along with my bets there. Now, today's Neds episode, we've got part 2 of the one that we started last week. We're just talking about the most impressive players at each and every club so far in 2024, as suggested by you guys. So me and Kat, we've been working overtime, deep diving into all of the players suggested by you guys, grabbing them and thinking of a few that we want to mention as well. But to be fair, in this episode, you guys covered it all pretty well. Now, Kat, she is not on this episode. She's working away at some content over there. So I'm going to go Han Solo over here and get stuck in for you guys on my Tyrell Sloan. Let's have a look at the teams we've got today. We've got the St. George Illawarra Dragons, the Finns, the Melbourne Storm, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. That'll be a tough one just quietly. The Newcastle Knights, the Canterbury Bulldogs, the Manly Seagulls, and of course, the Cronulla Sharks to finish it up. Let's get stuck into the first side. The St. George Illawarra Dragons, looking for their most impressive players so far this season. Keep in mind, I did actually get all these suggestions about 10 days ago, so they are before round 5. But the obvious one, the standout one by many people, was Zach Lomax. And when you have a look through the season that he is having, it really is incredible. I think he's averaging something like 200 odd run meters per game. He's in the top 5 for run meters, post contact, runs taken. He is absolutely flying. Tackle breaks, he's right up there as well. So Zach Lomax having an incredible season. He's obviously in the news at the moment, which is you would think would be distracting. I mean, the St. George Illawarra Dragons have never been a team that's been able to deal with noise overly well, but seemingly this is where Shane Flanagan is comfortable. This is his habitat, you might say. He loves noise. He loves, things that should derail seasons. He just seems to deal with it really well. And he's got the one guy at this club that doesn't want to be there, playing the best footy out of anyone, which is incredible. It's a different headline every single week around Lomax, and he just keeps on playing lights out footy for them. He wants to play centre. He's playing wing. He's likely going to play fullback. Honestly, nothing is going Lomax's way, and he's just having an incredible fucking season. And a lot of you guys suggested in the comments that he's every chance to make his Origin debut this year. I'll tell you what, I find it really hard to push back on. I'll tell you what, if before Origin he lands at a club he actually wants to play for, my God, he could absolutely explode this season, Lomax. Good chance he ends up at fullback over the next few weeks by the sound of it. And if he does, I cannot wait to see him there. He's always been a good centre. Looks like a fantastic winger. What he could do at fullback is pretty frightening. So Zach Lomax, the obvious one from the St. George Illawarra Dragons. A couple of other guys I want to mention there. Tommy Eisenhuth has had an incredible season so far. He's been very impressive. Francis Molo's another one that I've liked his work so far this year. Sully's been very good as well. Jack Bird got injured on the weekend, but up until that point, he was great. Jaden Sewer's been good. Honestly, I know all the results haven't gone the Dragons' way, but gee whiz, they've had some guys that have played some really good footy. Jacob Little's played some good footy as well. So shout out to Shane Flanagan getting the very best out of a lot of guys at his club. Kyle Flanagan obviously playing great footy. Credit to the Dragons. I had them for the wooden spoon at the start of the season, as many of us did, and I do not think they will be a wooden spoon side. So shout out to the Dragons and you Dragons fans. It has been a tough couple of years, but I think things are starting to turn a little bit. Hopefully you can keep Lomax there, but it looks unlikely. Let's move on to the Dolphins. Obviously, their second season in the NRL. Injuries have already made life really hard, losing Tommy Gilbert and whatnot. Herbie Farmworth on the weekend, not ideal. But our first one comes from Bales Up MP3, some form of music, I assume. Kat would have liked that one. Jack Bostock was the man suggested by him. And yeah, Bostock's been incredible this year. Made his first grade debut last year, but I thought it was pretty evident that he wasn't ready for first grade last season. Just eyeballing him, I think you could tell his body wasn't ready for first grade. He's obviously had a big off season in the gym. He's grown quite a bit, and he is definitely ready for first grade now. Doing really good things out on the left sting for the Dolphins this season. The other one suggested suggested by Simo90210 is Josh Kerr, who I think the longer this season goes, the more important he's going to get with injuries and whatnot, but he's been fantastic. When Josh Kerr arrived at the Dolphins, I thought, I know how this is going to play out. Wayne's going to get the best out of this guy. He's going to be flying. You look back to the 2020 Origin Series, it quite often is forgotten, but they have an award for the Queensland Spirit Award. I forget who it's named after, maybe Tosser Turner, but they got to the end of the series and Josh Kerr didn't even play a game for Queensland, and Wayne Bennett gave him the Spirit Award. So Wayne Bennett has always been a big Josh Kerr guy. I'm sure Josh Kerr's a big Wayne Bennett guy, and it doesn't overly shock me that he's up there playing some great footy. Let's have a look at the Melbourne. I'll tell you what, before we move off the Dolphins, I want to give my boy a shout out, Isaiah Katoa. He has been tremendous this season. Missed the team round one. Ever since then, it's like he's aged 5 years in the offseason. He just looks so mature. He's playing well above his age, which is a scary thing when you're 19. Just crazy. Maybe 20 now, but I think he's still 19. Do your own research there. But yeah, Isaiah Katoa has been fantastic. He's my guy that I want to give a shout out to. Our next one, the Melbourne Storm. And this one comes from CXN Stantindis, I think it is. I'm almost 100% certain I got that wrong, so shout out to you, brother. Trent Leroux, his shout, which is a really good shout, named at 13 the last few weeks and this whole season so far. I wasn't convinced he'd do the job at 13. He has got errors in him, but I think as a whole he's been really strong there, very solid defensively. So shout out Trent Leroux, who's really come on over the last year or so, and a very good shout. The other one comes from Cruise Pole, says Ryan Pappenhausen. And I remember reading this comment and he just sort of said, look, Pappy hasn't lit the world alight, but he's done a good job the entire time. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He's played his role perfectly, and I agree with you, mate. Ryan Pappenhausen has been really good, and I do think you'll start to see over the next few weeks with a really nice run, I think you'll start to see the old Pappy stand up and really show what he's all about and explode a little bit. Really good shouts there from the Melbourne Storm. Let's go to the next one. The South Sydney Rabbitohs. And I think this is why Kat isn't featuring on this one. I think she's ran and hid somewhere in the studio to avoid this one. Trying to pick a player that's been going good for South Sydney. Let's call a spade a spade. It's been bloody tough. Jack Whiten sort of comes to mind for me. He's been better than the rest, but still nowhere near Jack's absolute best footy. Outside of him, honestly, not much doing with South Sydney. I would have probably said Damien Cook was having a red-hot crack, but he's been dropped, so I don't know what to read into. Tommy Burgess has been good without being great. I think the one guy you have to pick, though, is Cam Murray. He's the only guy so far that you couldn't question his effort throughout this season. That was suggested by IMB25. Shout out to IMB25. Actually made a suggestion for every single team going above and beyond. Out of all the guys in the comments, you'd be my most impressive, mate. So a very, very good knock. 17 names there, top shelf. But he's gone Cam Murray from the South Sydney Rabbitohs, which I really like. And I actually couldn't find another post in the entire thing that said anyone other than Cam Murray. So that's pretty telling at the moment. Very, very unfortunate how it's all played out for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The next up is the Newcastle Knights. Bit of a mixed bag season, but they're starting to find their feet now. Obviously, Kalen Ponga, he's been the most impressive guy so far, so I left him out of there. I went for some other ones. This one comes from Julia Lockyer, a very famous name in rugby league. Tyson Frizzell, very, very good shout. Fridge is obviously injured at the moment, but I thought the first month or so, he was not only their best forward, but their best player as well. Scored a couple of tries, but was just playing tough footy. Was spending time on the right edge, also playing through the middle, scoring tries off kicks, running over halfbacks, was making big tackles as well. It's his defensive plays that have really counted this year. So Tyson Frizzell, a fantastic shout there. Absolutely love that one from Julia Lockyer. Might be Julian Lockyer now that I look at it, but I can't really tell. My handwriting isn't great. Our next one from Pat_Picton says Dane Gagai, that right edge, it's been humming for the Newcastle Knights so far this year. And I agree, mate. Gagai's been really good. Timmy Williams read out some of his stats the other day. Just sort of said, mate, he just does this every week. We don't notice. And Dane Gagai has been tremendous to start the season. I think he missed... Was it last week or the week before he might have missed their game? But Dane Gagai has been very, very solid. He's been incredibly solid for the Newcastle Knights ever since returning. It's wild. He's gone through like periods of playing just unbelievable footy, whether it be Origin, some time at South Sydney was very good, but like his first stint at Newcastle was crazy. And now I think he's playing some of his best footy he's ever played over the last 2 years. So shout out to Dane Gagai. Not scoring a heap of tries, but just meters, tackle breaks, line breaks. He's killing it, guys. So shout out to him, doing very good things. Good shouts there from the Newcastle Knights. I would also personally want to chuck in Leo Thompson. I think he's been very, very impressive as well. Let's move now to the Canterbury Bulldogs. Another mixed bag for the Doggies. Got 2 wins under the belt now, which is good to see after whatever the hell happened on Friday night against the Sydney Roosters. One of the most bizarre games of football I've ever seen. Our first one comes from Winston Neville, Canterbury Bulldogs superfan. Joined me a couple of weeks ago just over there. Joined Kat on the catch-up as well. Big fan of Winston. Does fantastic things. His suggestion is Josh Curran. And, I mean, we've spoken a lot about Curran from a Supercoach point of view, NRL point of view. He really has been the guy holding this forward pack together. He's a brilliant footballer. Probably better on the edge, but they're forcing him to play middle and he'll just do whatever his team needs. He's been fantastic, getting through a stack of work. I think he's still got a lot more attacking upside to see this season. Nice little offload as well. So full credit to Josh Curran. He has been tremendous. Our other suggestion here comes from Christopher Campana, and I love this. He suggested Kurt Mann, one of the many newer rivals at this club. He's been fantastic. I've been so impressed with Kurt Mann this year. I know he's got an injury now, but keep in mind, I think he played 60-odd minutes the other day for the Bulldogs with a broken hand. Fucking tough as nails. And every time he comes off the bench and jumps into that 13 role, Canterbury just go to a new level. So they're really going to miss Kurt Mann. I don't know what they're going to do here with Curran, Jamin Salmon, who's going to play 13, how it's going to work. But I'll give you the hot tip. They are certainly going to miss Kurt Mann over the next few weeks. Had a tremendous start to the season. Let's move to the Manly Sea Eagles. Started hot over there in Las Vegas. Dropped off a little bit after that. Beat Penrith last week with a very, very impressive performance. Guys that have stood out from the Manly Sea Eagles, obviously Ola Kawatu. He's been a big old MF out there on the right edge. Been very, very hard to handle. Been absolutely killing it. That suggestion is from Dave74. I'm very confident he goes by Davo. He's been killing it, Ola Kawatu, having a fantastic season. I would assume he has got his eyes on a sky blue jersey, and boy, oh boy, he's getting very close to it. The other suggestion, and I love this one. This is the guy, or one of the guys I would have nominated. This one comes from Troy Duncan. Says Taniela Paseka. I've been saying it for 18 months or so. I don't know what happened at the start of last year, but someone put a mirror in Paseka's house, and he might have just strolled past it and caught a glimpse of how fucking big this guy is. And now he's starting to realise how damaging he can be. Went toe-to-toe with Leota Fisher-Harris last week and stood his own. He has really improved, Paseka. Had an injury that finished last season. I was keen to see if he'd come back as good as he was last year. Arguably, he's come back better. I've been very impressed with Taniela Paseka. The other guy I want to give a shout out to, even before last weekend when he really took it to Penrith, I think Nathan Brown has been a tremendous little signing as well, a great little value signing. So shout out to Brownie. Our last team is the Cronulla Sharks. A really interesting one here. The suggestion here is Talakai. Now, when this suggestion was made 2 weeks ago, I think Talakai was the best centre in rugby league at that point in 2024. Since then, he got moved to the back row. Since then, he's been named on the bench. Kayla Itaro's come in. I don't think that's a negative on Talakai. I think it just speaks to the depth of the Cronulla Sharks and where he might fit in best. So, as much as it is strange to nominate a centre that's now been dropped to the bench as a middle forward, I think this is a really good shout because I think Talakai has been outstanding for the Cronulla Sharks. It's just unfortunate how it has all played out for him. The other guy I want to give a big shout out to is Teague Wilton. I questioned a lot of things about his game in the preseason, and I was either completely wrong or he's improved a lot. Personally, I think he's improved a lot. His defense has been fantastic this year, which was my question mark, and he honestly probably runs one of the best lines in rugby league, alongside with his buddy on the other side, Britton Nikora, right up there as well. But man, I've been impressed with Teague Wilton this season, and we all know he's got attacking upsides, but defensively, he's just been so much better than he was last year. So shout out to Teague Wilton. Guys, that sums up part 2 of your most impressive player in season 2024. If you want to have a listen to the other 8 teams, go back to the previous YouTube episode or podcast from last week, part 1. You can have a listen to it there. Proudly brought to you by our partners in crime this season, Ned's, doing tremendous things. Make sure you go and check out their app. Follow the Rugby League Guru profile. Join the Rugby League Guru podcast group there as well. Be putting my bets in there over the weekend and whatnot. So make sure you're keeping up with that. Some tremendous stuff in there. Gamble responsibly as always, guys. The prices that we give each and every week are subject to change. So please be aware of that. But go and check out the Neds app.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website